Let's crack open a beer and share some thoughts.
Kit Kat chunky mini. It shouldn't work. You've taken the thing and you made it bigger and then you made it smaller in a different way. Do you not? Okay.
I didn't know they'd done that.
It's like a
Kit
fully,
Kat chunky mini?
it's like a fully caffeinated, decaffeinated coffee. As far as I'm concerned.
A what? A what? God,
This is only going to go downhill from here, isn't it? This is like the first beer.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Well. So, as the listeners would have probably guessed by now, guess who's back? Back again. Ruth's back on Hopinions, being the only guest that's ever been requested back by our listeners.
I'm so sorry.
No need to apologise. And
I'm just a bit worried it was requested instead of us.
yeah, just Ruth on
Just
her own
Ruth.
to replace you and I as a guest. And Ruth has brought us to quite a strange location to record
Strange, a bit weird.
this week's show. Should we just describe our surroundings, Ruth?
I don't like it.
Serial killer's basement in an American cop show.
I think that sums it up perfectly.
Broken dolls, bit of dodgy
Actually, yeah.
lighting.
Yeah.
This is
Staff-
all my nightmares kind of come to life.
Stuff
and
half
surrounding
done,
me.
stuff hanging around. Yeah.
Yeah, tools, hidden rooms,
That
Dead babies.
basement.
stain aprons.
That bloke who's lived at home till he's 45 and they've just suddenly
Yeah.
discovered he's been killing people for 20 years.
So,
We'll
so
talk
where,
about Steve like that.
where are we actually, Ruth? Because you've sorted out this venue for us, and
Yes,
we should probably give them a
so
shout out for giving us a room.
We are at the Depot, which is a pub owned by West Berkshire Brewery, who are the people I work for, and we are in the section looked after by Handmade Mysteries, who run escape rooms and such. Apparently, this is an escape room. I've asked them not to lock the door.
Okay, but just behind you there is a great big red button that says "Do not press," and it's taking every ounce that I've got of me not to go over and just push it.
Reminds me so much of a Doctor Who episode at the moment.
You're all over that. You're
Yeah.
loving that, aren't you? So this week we're going to do a number of beers because we've kind of brought back something from the old beer o'clock show days, which was the
What would we taste beer and talk about
the
it?
county showcases, which a few people have said, oh, it'd be great if you brought those back, and Ruth has obliged by getting us beers from
Berkshire.
is it Berkshire or is
Royal
it West Berkshire?
Royal
Or is it
Berkshire,
Royal
darling.
Berkshire?
Or
Is it Berkshire?
No, it's not. So many people.
We're moving on to bourbon and bourbon again, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
No,
Indeed.
Berkshire, most definitely Berkshire,
so-
not just West.
So tonight we're just drinking beers from Berkshire.
Yes.
What's the first one we're drinking? This is one of your beers, isn't
This
it?
is one of mine. So this is the Renegade Lager, which is brewed by West Berkshire Brewery, and this is our
Say it.
Go on.
Craft!
cold and fizzy range.
Craft range.
Craft keg, evil filth.
Oh.
Evil keg filth.
Craft range.
Cold and fizzy range. So it's essentially a Pilsner style, but made in the UK using UK ingredients, and we use extra pale malt rather than lager malt, so it's got a bit more oomph. English hops.
That's probably what we were getting at the start then, because you said that it felt more like a pale ale. I would have, if I'd had to, I would have guessed it was a lager.
I would never have known this as a lager.
I would have struggled with that.
But the idea of it, and if I'm talking to pubs about it, then it's like a really good in-between beer for people who are bored of Peroni or Stella and those kind of things, but aren't quite ready for Beavertown. This is the in-between stage.
It's gateway, is
Yeah,
what you're trying to say.
Gateway.
Yeah.
She was trying to avoid that one as well.
I'm not saying the C word.
Are the words that you're avoiding tonight? Craft, gateway,
Oh! Yeah.
many
sorry.
others that we have
I'm
on the
not
list in
saying
front of us. Yeah.
But I can see what you're saying. It
I
is
can
it
see
is
that.
definitely a step along from your macros, but not quite full on.
And cold and fizzy and swiggy and
It's easy to drink.
all the things that you want a lager to be, hopefully.
Flavour.
Easy to drink.
It's full of flavour.
Yeah, it's got flavour.
I'm really enjoying it.
I feel I can't say I'm too biased
What's-
to review
Yeah, but
it.
it's all right. That's fine.
What's it actually called? What's is it literally? What?
It's called Renegade Craft Lager.
Okay, that just so that if people are out and about,
Then
they
can
know
find
what
it, yes.
they're looking for. Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm really enjoying.
It's very refreshing.
Yeah,
Yeah, not too gassy either.
but would never have called that as a lager.
No.
Never.
So I think it's really pilsnery.
See, I think
So
No, because
but
I always
think maybe-
associate Pilsner being a bit cleaner than that. This does
It's
feel more
got
like a
that
pale
little
ale.
bit of sweetness to it that I can
Yeah.
associate with a pilsner.
I think my issue is with a pilsner is my benchmark for pilsner is Urquell.
Yeah.
And that's what I'll go for in terms of style and flavour and what it looks and feels and tastes like and everything. And I could see this leaning towards it. However, that been put in front of me blind in the glass, I would never have called that as a lager. There's a new style right there.
Okay, good.
It's a lager.
10 minutes in.
Yeah, as a lager
It's a
or
lovely
a
lager.
pilsner, I would have gone more pale ale.
Yeah, same here.
on that.
Cool. I would take that as a compliment.
Take it as a thumbs up.
I think that is a massive compliment. So while we finish this, we're gonna try and be very brief with the first section tonight because we've got a lot to cover off on this week's show. Beery Adventures. We always like to chat about what we've been up to.
Yeah.
Martin, what have you been up to since our last studio show? Because we took a break.
Yeah, we took a break a couple of weeks, so Essex Bottle Share.
Yes, always a great evening.
Always a great evening. We had a few good beers and we had a few rank ones as well, didn't we? Had a few rank ones last week. That was always a bit disappointing when that
A
happens.
few iffy ones.
Yeah, we had a homebrew again. We had another homebrew guy, didn't we? He turned up with a IPA at the end of it.
It was a strange IPA.
It was a very strange
There were some
IPA.
ingredients in that, and it literally had two big litre bottles of these homebrew IPA as well. And they had the swing top.
Chamomile.
Yeah,
It was chamomile IPA, that's what it was.
Are
And
you two just being really polite?
No, we'll get to it. We told him that the chamomile was overbearing and he agreed.
Yeah.
It was just like drinking chamomile tea. So it's a really...
which I'm not a fan of. So
No, and I like tea and I'm not a fan of chamomile. But it was very overpowering. It made it very dry as well, didn't it?
Yeah.
Made it very dry. But no, a couple of highlights for me with the a couple of beers from Cantillon. We had 2 beers from Cantillon that evening. Highlights for you, obviously, Steve.
Really? Nobody told me, so I didn't bring any Gaviscon.
We had the Goose 100% Lambic Bio, so basically the base beer, and I really loved that. And it was a couple of years on as well. That one, that was delicious. And Dan brought the rosé Gambrinus rosé, which was very nice.
Excellent.
Well, he did break the rules by bringing a beer we'd already had.
Not strictly speaking.
Different version,
vintage.
different year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
We let him off, did we?
we did let him off on that.
So that was probably one of the main highlights. What I would want to shout out is Adnam Soulstar. They've reduced now from 2.7 to 0.9% recently, and I can't really tell the difference in the flavour.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I was a little bit taken aback when I saw that announcement a couple of months ago now that they had reduced it, because it's already a low ABV beer at what 2.5
It was 2.7.
Yeah, and now down to
0.9.
So
And I had a couple at Easter time because I'd volunteered to do a bit of driving, and the 0.9 I had a week ago, and I had one on yesterday when I was watching the football, and because I still had to drive in the evening, didn't really notice much difference. Nice and malty, decent body, better than the ones we had when we did the alcohol-free show.
maybe we need
With
to
the exception
revisit.
Nanny State, which I still like.
You can go back and do the low alcohol.
Yeah,
show.
I didn't like
But
it.
not in a hurry. No. We don't need to
We
rush.
don't need to do a beer podcast featuring beers that have no
beer.
Therefore, not strictly speaking beer.
Yeah, so that's about that. That was about it for me, really.
Okay. Ruth, what have you been up to beer wise?
Very few beer adventures, with the notable exception of our Whittam beer day out,
So you did come and spend a day with me in my hometown, didn't
which was amazing. And
Did you not read his pre-Christmas blog about the pubs before you went there?
I did.
Or Matt's blog, I should say.
Matt's blog about my day out,
Yeah.
which was great.
Ghostwriting.
Yeah. Bribed with brownies, I think,
Okay.
and bacon and ribs, and got the pleasure of seeing Steve's face when he drank a pint of Ruddles County.
Were you in a spoons?
Was in a spoon.
Spoons.
Yeah.
So how much did that cost?
And it was the best beer we'd had that day so far.
It was, and it's interesting because we did there was a little experiment going on in terms of in spoons, how far can we make a tenner go if we use the camera vouchers.
Okay, so if you basically go for their house beers, which is Ruddle's IPA.
Didn't even do that.
No, we tried some of the local specials that were on, and we got 6 pints.
We've got 6 pints, including 2 pints of Woodford,
For a tenner.
with
That's
11 pence change.
With 11 pence change, which is
A bargain.
pretty happy with that.
That's pretty good.
But that led us on to a discussion in terms of, so if you were on minimal income and you were a camera member and had those vouchers, actually a night out in Spoons, a tenner for 6 pints on your own is a pretty good night out.
Yeah, I think
Maybe
Spoons is.
too much of a good night out.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Well, no, because you can only use the vouchers a certain amount of times, can't you? You've only got 10 vouchers per quarter.
But yeah, you can only go back to that well so many
Yeah.
times. But even so, I think at some point we need to do a Spoons show. Maybe record it in a Spoons.
Record it in the Spoons. Well, as long as it's not the shit one in Harlow or into the other one.
No, that's fine. But we can. The one in Whittam has got lots of little nooks and crannies. What we could probably tuck ourselves.
I've never been into that one.
Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should do a Spoons show.
Spoons special.
Yeah, Spoons special. An evening in Spoons with Martin and Steve. We could invite people.
You could sell tickets for that.
We could sell
You
tickets.
really
Be a
could.
beer
A
sellout.
voucher,
Yeah,
a
they-
voucher
They
per
can,
person.
they can have 50p
Yeah.
off if they turn up with the voucher.
Absolutely. I've not really got a lot to add to in terms of beer adventures.
Yeah, because you did the Essex bullshit and you did the
Essex bullshit with you and everything with you. Other than that, I've been drinking beer at home. It's a standard formula, really. It's not too much going on.
That's all right.
So, got through that fairly quickly.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Didn't we? So, on to the news then this week. Again, trying to keep it short and sweet. Manchester Beer Week. They're kicking off with the city's biggest ever brewery open day. So, the plan is Manchester Beer Week is running from Saturday, June the 24th, right and through to the following weekend, which I think is 1st, 2nd July. On that opening weekend, they've actually managed, I think, to get 12 breweries to open up their tap rooms in Manchester city centre on the same day. So people can visit Manchester and they can do as many of those breweries as they possibly can. They can do the...
Are those tap rooms not normally open on a Saturday then?
Not all of them aren't. A good majority of them are. I think there's about 7 of them are normally open every Saturday. But this also takes in the entire, what's called the Piccadilly beer mile. So it runs down from the station right down all the way to, I think the one at the furthest end is, might be Chawton at the furthest end of the beer mile. But I just think that's great that you've got these 12 breweries all opening up to celebrate what Manchester do.
Yeah, I think so. So the Manchester Beer Week sounds amazing.
It's just building and building in terms of what they've got going on there. Further details on that one, check out the Manchester Beer website, which I haven't got to hand right now, but I guess if you use Google you'll be able to find it. While we're talking Manchester, and one of those breweries that's on the beer mile, one that we've been to, and we've recorded
there
as well, so we've been to Beer Nouveau. They've announced that they're doing, they are planning a crowdfunding program, and I know we've chatted about this.
Yeah.
We really like the sound
I'm excited about this
of
one.
what Steve's planning here. So what he wants to do is to take heritage recipes, put them in wooden casks, and set up a heritage barrel program. 2 streams are available. He's looking at doing IPAs and Russian Imperial Stouts. Now you can invest in one or the other or both.
Both.
Which just sounds...
I can't choose between that.
Absolutely amazing.
In barrel?
No, I can't choose between investing in just an Imperial or an IPA. I'd invest in both.
It's interesting because the whole IPA thing is... It's heritage IPA, so it's IPA
It's real
as
IPA.
it would have been brewed
I mean,
originally.
it's not murky.
It means it's not murky, and it means it's not fizzy, but it means it's been brewed for the market it was intended for, and I'm really excited about...
Yeah, but we tasted some of his beers when we did the Beernomicon podcast, which he was doing based on old recipes. They were fantastic, and I would love to taste the special brew one they did with Beernomicon.
Yeah, that was released just this past weekend, wasn't it? They did a clone of Special Brew side by side with Carlsberg Special Brew. But I went to Beer Nouveau during last year's Indie Man. He did History of IPA series, and he had 12 different beers on. 4 were from the wood. which were the oldest versions of IPAs that he could find recipes for and brew. 4 were on cask and then 4 were on keg, and they were all going from oldest to newest. So, and it was incredible to try all these beers. I only made it about 8 beers through, and I had to tap out a bit because I was done. I just couldn't feature anymore. But the stuff that Steve's doing up there, I'm really excited about.
Yeah,
I
can't
wait for him to release details on that.
The more details, the better on that one.
Very exciting. I mean, we'll link through to. For now, he's produced an information brochure. We'll link through to that in the show notes if people want to have a read about what's going on. They can do. Thornbridge have once again teamed up with Waitrose to do the homebrew competition this year. So now into its 4th year. I think so. I think there have been 3 versions of beers that have won this. Quite exciting in terms of what ends up coming out of it and the entries that they get. But if you are a home brewer and you want to enter, all the details are at gbhomebrew.co.uk. And then finally, not finally this week, because there is one more after this. Seems to have lost a piece of paper, but there it is.
It's all very professional, this.
It's amazingly professional.
Seamless.
I'm really put off by the dummy that's staring over my shoulder while I'm going through this.
Don't talk about us like that.
Massive shout out to a brand new beer podcast on the block. So the Northeast Sipping Fullcast, which is jointly hosted by a fan of the show, Miles Lambert, released their first episode last week, which I know.
Yeah, I listened to it last week.
I've also listened.
Yeah.
And you got a mention.
See, I'm not sure. I
It was you.
He
said
you're both
he said
convinced
someone has
it
been
was
moaning.
me.
So he said someone's been moaning at me about the Jaipur size of bottles going down. I don't know what he expects me to do about it. It's you.
I'm not sure it's me.
Unless we're going to say that you never moan about anything, in which case it's...
That's probably fair.
Fine.
I think we know Miles listens, so Miles, can you just clarify whether that was me or not you was referring to? just so we can put an end to this one. But I really enjoyed the format.
The interaction was really good.
Just 2 guys just chatting about beer, which is great. And for me,
Jedi Master and Padawan.
the hour flew by. I didn't even really feel like it was going on. I just really enjoyed the way they were chatting, and it's great to see them focusing on one area of the UK as well. So again, that'll be linked through in the show notes if you want to check out the Northeast Sipping Fullcast. So finally, in this week's news, and this is kind of breaking news as we record tonight. So
imagine the ticker tape at the bottom going across your screen right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't expect us to go into too much detail because we might cover this next week, unless something else pops up in the meantime. So this is apparently Carlsberg have openly said today that they will buy a UK craft brewery before the end of this year or at the beginning of next year, which has led to a whole Twitter storm of speculation about who that might be.
There's some hot favourites.
Yeah. Do we want to go into this now, or should we tease this a little bit and
I would say a few bits. I mean,
Do you want to place bets now, and then we can see what happens?
The hot favourites were Verdant and Forpure, weren't they? On Twitter today.
Verdant.
Too new.
I don't think Verdant.
Far too new.
But, I thought no, not Verdant. Sorry, that's my fault. Vocation.
Vocation.
Again with V. Sorry.
Maybe.
Vocation and Forpure were 2 that I saw. Somebody threw Redwell in there that I didn't think would be a bad shout. In terms of I don't know if Redwell have quite got the...
They're in Tesco now.
Okay, so maybe they have then, before I finish that
Sorry.
particular sentence.
No, they're in Tesco now.
They're in Tesco in Wokingham, so I presume that means...
Okay.
So their reach is
further
getting bigger. Any others that we think that might fall to that particular sword?
I threw in Beavertown. I was shot down in flames by the guest.
I don't see Beavertown ever going down that route.
I don't see why they would need to.
I'm still putting it out there.
We're thinking more or wild beer.
No. Wild Beer have just raised over $1 million in crowdfunding. They've smashed their crowdfunding target. Mind you, that didn't stop Camden, did it? let's be honest. But no, I don't. I think the problem with Wild Beer is, and it's not a problem. I think Wild Beer produce beers that cater for a very specific segment of the market. I don't think they produce beers that are generic.
They're not commercial enough.
No.
In their beer offering.
I think Vocation is a great shout in terms of where they've gone from in a short amount of time to being probably one of the most sought after craft brands that was stocked by independents, suddenly appearing in Tesco's, having a bad time because they had some quality issues, having dealt with that, now producing good beer on a regular basis. They've got to be up there as a favourite, haven't they?
What do you think?
I find this very interesting that for a long time I've been on the big brewery buys small brewery, doesn't really matter, still making good beer bandwagon. And a lot of other people have been up in arms because Heineken, Ball, Lagunitas, or whoever it might be. But you two are now talking like it's a compliment to be bought, which I think it is. It's kind of like you've worked hard and you've done well, and now you're going to get a big cash and joke.
Well, people like Heineken and people like AB InBev, Asahi, they don't buy shit.
No.
So you've got to be doing something right and producing something good before they move in, because it's still a business. You still need to make money. They don't throw their money away. So, not necessarily saying it's a compliment, but they've got to be doing something right in the first place.
I agree with that actually, and if you said that, it's just reminded me actually that we've done the news without even mentioning the big buyout story of the week, which was the Wicked Weeds selling out in the US, and I've got to admit probably the reason why it passed me by is because I've never tried any of their beers, probably hadn't heard of them until they had been bought out.
Yeah, I am, but now I do know about them.
Yeah. But there was some suggestion earlier on Twitter as well of people were even suggesting meantime who have been bought twice now. I believe
really?
they were bought by SAB Miller, who then sold them on. Yeah. And it's like, well, is this not getting to a point where they're no more than a commodity that people are selling on from?
For Asahi, it's a way into the market as well, and the way in. I don't think that's a likely one.
For people that aren't sat in the room with us right now, Ruth's just put her hand up, which probably means that she wants to speak.
Asahi.
Oh, fucking correct pronunciation.
I'm so sorry.
Pronunciation.
I'd say bourbon or bourbon soon.
Well, we're having
I'm so sorry, but definitely Asahi.
Okay. I thought you were going to pull me up on the actual point. It was my.
Oh no, that's your opinion.
It's my grammar.
Okay, so let's nail that colours.
Is all mine.
Let's nail our colours to the mast right here, right now.
How do you pronounce it?
Carlsberg have said they're going to buy a UK craft brewery. Who's it going to be? Ruth.
Purity.
Mine.
I'm going to stick with Beavertown.
You stand with Beavertown. I'm going to stick.
It's
with
my
four.
Leicester City.
I'm actually going to go for four pure
Okay.
because I think they are. They strike me as a brewery that have been set up to be bought by somebody. The way they do everything is just so clean and professional, and they feel like Camden did when Camden was still considered as craft. I didn't do it. I didn't do the air quotations like you just did. Again, audio podcast, people can't see that. So that finishes the news. We've made our predictions on that, and we can come back to this podcast in a year's time when Carlsberg announced that they've bought 4 Pure. And
Fuller's, because that's what they class as a craft brewery.
Exactly, yeah. Final thoughts on the lager before we move on to the next beer that we're having this evening.
Well, looking at all the glasses, it's gone.
It has gone.
We finished it.
I really enjoyed that, actually.
Yeah, I thought it was really refreshing. It's nice, good choice. Yeah.
Still not very lagery, but
no,
it's easily a bit.
Well, it's not lager as we know it. Or
you could session on that. You could properly session on that without getting too gassy. And
I was so scared about giving you two beer from the brewery that I work for and having
that was called craft lager.
That was called craft lager, and because there was no way if you hated it I could edit it out. So I'm very chuffed. Thank you.
Not seeing as you don't do the editing, no.
No.
And Steve barely does any editing.
That's I try to do minimal editing these days.
Yeah.
And keep it
I'm-
as real as
I'm-
No,
possible.
it was,
I'm really chuffed
it was a nice beer, and
Yeah.
we do use the word gateway a lot, but it would work as that. If you go in and someone says, "Oh, what do you want?" and they normally go for a Peroni or a Stella, and you give them the option. So, well, what about this? It's not a million miles away, but it still moved the dial along. We've gone from your pH 7, we've moved away from the neutral, we've gone somewhere else. So it's a nice beer.
Good. So what's next beer wise?
So next up, we have 2 beers from the nicest man in the brewing industry.
Ooh, who could that be?
I wonder.
Ba, ba, ba. So also from Berkshire, we have beer from Elusive, which is lovely Andy, who everyone loves and adores. And first up, we are having. It's time for Plan B.
So Plan B is a Belgian style.
A Belgian style pale ale made of English malts, German and Australian hops, and Belgian yeast. Do you want the full tasting note?
No.
That will do.
Thanks.
No, never give us the tasting
Because
notes.
he uses the word slide, which is slightly worrying.
Okay. Why is that?
They slide together, apparently.
I think that might be to do with the label. To be fair,
I think this is the anti-Brexit beer.
it was the beer that was I think the label was very much pouring beer all over the table.
It was on the table.
Very
that's
much.
your job, Steve.
Only when we were recording the yours, it would have been. So this was. I think you produced this after. Produced the label after the Brexit vote last year, for sure.
Is it post Brexit?
Yes, which is why it's got a. For those that haven't seen the label of this, it's a hybrid half and half of Boris Johnson and Terminator. On the
Although
label.
for legal reasons, that's not explicitly written on the label.
It's not, but that's obviously.
I do. I love the label. Don't get me wrong. The label's excellent.
I
I love Andy's labelling for Elusive Brewing.
Yeah, the 8-bit labelling is just fantastic.
It's a bit like the Pac-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy the other day.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I love that. Yeah. Let's not too many spoilers in there for people that have maybe not seen it yet. Sorry, you're now sitting through the live version of the Geek
Good,
podcast.
thanks.
So,
Cheers.
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 Well, people get free clinks.
Yes. Well away from the microphone, so hopefully people won't moan about it either.
No one moans.
So have you got that hint of Belgian-y on the nose?
There is some Belgian-y there.
It smells of Belgium.
Mm.
Bready, yeasty, banana-y, flowery, it's all that sort of
Passion
Belgian-y.
fruity.
Yeah.
It's definitely got
Ooh,
it's
hints of passion fruit,
It's
yeah.
definitely got something extra in there, isn't it?
That's Andy's happiness.
Andy happiness. It's going to make us all lovely people.
Yeah, on the taste, it's certainly not overpowered by the Belgian.
Yeah.
So-
I suppose the Belgian bit is mainly the yeast, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, I mean
So
that's
the yeast gives you like banana-y.
for me. That's only on the nose, really,
Gumdrop-y thing.
more so than in the flavour.
Very dry at the end for me.
Flavoured, dry, bitter.
Mm.
Easy.
Yeah, no, it is. Nice ABV, 4.2. Did you say?
Smashable.
Smashable, we're classing it smashable.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4.2.
Put it in that category. Goes in the smashable
It's
box.
about 4% less than usual Belgian pale ales. But
Yeah,
And Andy's just celebrated his first birthday.
he has.
He has.
Now he
indeed.
is one-
Congratulations to Andy. Did
One
he do a
and
tap
a week.
takeover locally? One of the Reading pubs.
Grey Friar.
Yeah.
He did a tap takeover, didn't he? Yeah, no, congratulations to Andy.
Yeah, and he's done a few in London recently as well. He did one Mason and Company,
Yeah.
which is no mean feat because
Yeah,
we've been there.
He had a number
And
of
it's
beers.
swanky.
On.
And there's a number of taps there. And
But he had
sort
a
of-
number of beers. I couldn't get over
Yeah.
there, but he had a number of beers on there.
And he did one at
Leighton
Leighton
Orient,
Orient
yeah.
as well, where
And
apparently
he's-
all of his stuff sold out in hours.
Yeah, literally, apparently.
Yeah,
I think 100% served for him.
yeah.
So pleased that he's doing so well.
Absolutely. So, based not too far outside of Reading,
Andy's in Finchampstead.
on the same estate as Siren.
So it's over the hedge
Yeah.
from Siren.
And hopefully, him and Simon will both have beers at the Bracknell Beer Festival at the end of May.
You going?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Excellent. That's where you first sampled some of his stuff last year, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, voted. He's both his offerings won their categories and overall beer at the festival straight away. And I just went straight for his beers anyway.
I think we're probably long overdue an Andy on this podcast. To be
We
honest
are.
with you. So I think we need to do all we can to go over there and have some beers with Andy and feature him. And because he was a guest a number of times. He was, I think, on the old Beer O'Clock show, he was second only to Justin Mason, who appeared a ridiculous number of times. Our next most featured guest after Justin was Andy, who had been on with us as a home brewer on a number of occasions, and then I think we finally got to feature him with one of his early commercial brews as well, which was...
He was at one of the live shows, wasn't
Yes, yeah, the last show.
Yeah.
That we did.
he? Yeah, so yeah, I'd be more than happy to do that.
Absolutely.
Whether Andy is another matter.
Yeah.
Andy, basically, we've invited ourselves over.
Well, we have. We've invited ourselves over, and you're going to appear on Opinions, so congratulations. You've made it. Okay, so while I finish this off, we're going to cover off... we're going to try and do 2 polls.
Ambitious setup tonight.
Tonight, yes, considering we're already 30 minutes in.
Are we really?
Yes. And we were going to keep the opening short.
Okay, how did that go?
Not so well.
Okay.
The reason why we're doing 2 polls is because obviously last week we didn't do a opinion show. We did Irish Beer Report because the damn bank holidays get in the way of our recording schedule.
Yes.
So we threw out a random poll that we thought nobody would get involved in, and it actually ended up being our second most popular ever poll.
Where did the question come from again? I couldn't remember.
I don't know.
We're not even going to do a tribute to a random listener this time.
I don't think so. I think it was literally over the course of about a week, I had seen a number of people use the word
And you thought it was wrong.
in different descriptions of a beer.
And you thought it was wrong.
I didn't think it was wrong. I was just, because I still don't know where I sit with this, but I was like, the one in particular was, I think somebody said that this beer looks dank, and I was like, beer can't look dank. Dank is something else. So I had to ask the question.
Yeah, because we were going to go a different poll last Sunday.
We were just going to do something random,
Yeah.
because it was a bank holiday.
It was an in-between.
and
Did you think we get it?
Well,
How many votes did we get, Steve?
370.
About the word dank.
Yes.
How the fuck did that happen?
Which is second only to our most popular ever poll, which I can't remember right now. It was that popular. But I don't... So yeah, 370 votes on this. And we simply asked...
Opinions, 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 opinions.
When you say dank, what is it that you're referring to? So the most popular percentage, 45%, went for taste. 40% went for aroma, 8% for mouthfeel, and 7% for presentation. Now, within the first 10 minutes of this poll going live, somebody replied and went, 50% of people are wrong, which I struggle with, because at the end of the day, this is all about people's opinions. And I come from the sort of, no, don't shake your head, because people
It's
can't
not.
see it again.
The word
Okay.
dank does have a definition, though,
It-
does
That's the
it?
thing, it can't
does.
be...
Okay,
it's-
so
the
have we
word
got
is
have we got a dictionary
Yes.
definition of what is it? Do you want me to read
Whatever
it
I
out?
put on my tweet.
Okay. Yeah, you linked to a dictionary
How's
definition.
that?
So, the
Press it on paper.
The definition was a damp, mouldy aroma as A, or essentially a cannabis weedy aroma as B.
Okay, so a lot of people came back with stuff about it being weedy.
Which none of us know what that smells like, obviously.
No.
Absolutely
My
not.
mother will listen to this.
No, I'm sure
No.
not a single person that listens to this podcast has any idea what that smells like. So quite a lot of people said that in terms of, and I suppose that's okay, isn't it? Because hop's part of that
Same family.
same family, isn't it? So would you not expect that if they were being used in a particular way?
But it's an aroma.
So for you, so
So in my opinion,
no, for you then, or in your
For you, it's
opinion,
unequivocally aroma.
is it aroma?
it's aroma, but with the caveat that a large proportion of our taste is aroma linked. So if you have a cold, then you can't taste stuff because your nose is blocked,
Yeah.
so you can't smell it. So it's all linked through.
but aroma leads, and our sense of smell leads.
But aroma is something like 70% of what we taste.
Okay.
What did you think it was?
I would have gone for taste in terms of it's got a dank feel to it. But then I suppose my definition of dank is a handful of wet, mouldy leaves that have been left in a muddy puddle that have been stepped in many times. That's dank.
That sounds delightful.
To me.
But what do you mean by dank feel?
In terms of taste.
Because a feel isn't a flavour, a feel's another thing.
I didn't say feels like, did I?
Yeah, that's what you just said about the leaves.
Yeah.
Just goes to prove
I'm never coming back.
I'm actually lost for words.
While you're pondering,
Yeah.
for me, I'm fairly certain I went for aroma purely because the word dank just reminds me of cellars.
Which is, and I'm
And
gonna
having grown up above an off licence, where we had a cellar, which me and my brother used to play football in. Probably we weren't allowed to, but we did. But that's what it always gives me, that sense. I think it's the olfactory system going on there. It's like, just reminds me.
Yeah. So, and a few people said that as well. So, Beer Bay Reviews said a cellar or dungeon. Interesting that he chose to put that in brackets.
Well, he could come here then.
He or she chose to put that in brackets, let's say. That previously suffered from damp, which is now fully dried out, but still has a slightly musty vibe. Chris Elston at Elston's Beer Blog, the lonely cave in which I consume all my beer. I can
worried
really
about your
relate to
listeners.
that. I can really relate to that one. A lot of people, Edward Shaw at Dr. Shaw 69, nothing in relation to beer, a damp place where mushrooms grow. It's not something that beer should be aspiring to, which I found quite an interesting comment, because it would seem as though there are a few breweries right now that are aspiring to brew dank beers.
Is dank bad?
For me, dank is bad because I associate with that mouldy, mossy, like the slightly mulchy leaf thing. And I kind of...
That's what I just said though.
I know.
And you both went, well, what does
No.
that feel
No, 'cause
like?
You said
it
feels. If you edit this to make you look good, I'm going to be so angry with you.
No, I'm not editing this because now you've said it, I now can't edit it
I
because you've
know.
referred to a
Because I've
point
caught
earlier
you.
on in the
I've caught
podcast,
you in
which
it.
is something that people that do professional podcasts do very well to stop them from editing out the bad bits.
I don't think it's a positive thing.
Because I don't think anyone actually came back saying, I don't want dankness, did they?
Several people did. Well, they don't want it.
Yeah.
Well, they all said it smells like a cellar, which I presume
No one
is a
said,
bad
yeah,
thing.
but we get people describing certain beers as tobacco and the bottom of an ashtray and like leather. I wouldn't say
We
they're
had the
necessarily-
person.
They're back to the dungeon bit again.
So Edward Shaw said, yeah, it's not something beer should be aspiring to. Mark Johnson at Mark and Johnson, I went for presentation because I only use dank in reference to my cellar, which is dank. Any other use of the word is for expletives. I mean, maybe I've used dank before as a beer descriptor, but now I've bettered myself as a person.
I love that
Good,
last bit.
bloody hands.
Yeah. So yeah, I just and then I don't want to spend too much time on this because despite it being our second most popular ever poll, this isn't the focus of tonight's show. I just want to finish it off with this one comment. F Nord, so at F Nord 2323, there appears to be no option for I still don't know what dank means, which I possibly might agree with that in terms. I think I know it when I taste it, but I couldn't describe what dank means.
It seems overused to me, but it seems overused to me by the people who put Iceman paws on Instagram, so I ignore them entirely anyway.
I think that's a great point to finish that on.
I need to ask a quick question about Iceman Paws.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Come
Yeah,
on.
no, seriously, I do. I've paid no real attention to the Iceman paw thing. What the fuck is it anyway? I actually don't know.
No fucking clue.
It's pouring a beer to the absolute top of the glass with no head.
For no reason.
And the term Iceman?
No idea.
Hipster.
Because it looks cool.
Does it? Oh,
I
okay.
don't know. Maybe it links to
It looks flat and
Val
unappealing.
Kilmer's character in Top Gun. He was called Iceman.
Yeah,
wasn't
I was trying to think how it links in.
Because he was super cool.
Yeah.
And
like I said, I have paid not much attention. I haven't had a chance to ask, and I just thought I'd ask now as it got mentioned.
Okay, it's not something I believe.
It's unlikely to win.
You could
big
do a
box
poll
of nothing.
about it.
No,
We did.
did we?
Yeah, it was an off-season poll, and
I obviously paid no attention to that.
people people weren't happy with it being an off-season poll.
So, what do we think of the Belgian Pale Ale?
All gone.
I really enjoyed it.
It was delicious.
For me, as not a fan of Belgian beers and Belgian styles, it wasn't too Belgian-y.
Yeah, I wouldn't have minded a bit more Belgian-y because I do like Belgian beer, but as a good intro to Belgian beers, and for someone who doesn't like it like yourself, I think it's excellent.
Yeah,
because it still had a bit of Belgium on the nose.
just a little bit.
Yeah,
just
it still
enough
told
to
you
make it
it
a
was
little
Belgian.
bit different.
But I would have been quite happier with a bit more ABV and a bit more Belgian.
Yeah, but we know that
You can do a different
that's
version as well.
that's not Andy's market. He doesn't go big ABV because his market is predominantly a cask market, and he knows that, and that's what he aims for.
And he does it very well. I'm just saying I wouldn't mind.
So you want Andy to personally
Yeah.
brew you double plan B.
Plan C.
Yes.
When it's all gone really shit.
Yeah.
We have plan C.
Yeah, Plan C might be needed. And
If we
welcome.
had Brexit and Trump, then what's going to be the next thing that makes it plan C?
Oh, God.
A 4
Let's
year
not go
takeover.
No.
Shall we have some more, Andy?
Let's have some more, Andy. What have we got next from Andy?
Next up, now we have Level Up, Level 6.
Okay, so this is the latest version of the
Something like that.
American Red, brewed with blanc or blanc, depending on how big.
I think because it's a C, it's Blanc. Isn't it?
Blanc and Enigma.
Okay, so American Red, from what I know, is the beer that started it all for Andy. This is the base version of this beer was the one that he won the national homebrew competition with.
Okay.
Oh, was it?
Which gave him a considerable prize fund, which allowed him to put into Elusive Brew to become a commercial.
So this will
brewery.
always be quite a special one for him then.
This will always be. I'm sure it was this one. I'm sure somebody out there will correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
Andy.
I'm pretty sure it was the American Red was the one that won it for him and that was when Craft Beer Co hosted the national homebrew competition.
Oh, was that one?
Yeah, and he won it. I think the original version of it was brewed with.
So how far have you got up on the levels then?
I think you're right, by the way. So it says on the back of the bottle, in many ways, this is the beer that started things for us. The first iteration was named winning beer in the Craft Beer Company National Home Brewing Awards in 2014. We use prize money as deposit on our 5-barrel brew house, and the rest, as they say, is history. Aren't you good?
Steve actually knows stuff.
I
do know
actually
stuff.
know stuff, and I do believe as well that the first commercial version of this was brewed with Dark Star Brewery as well, because they sponsored the competition at the time. There's a really interesting nose on that.
I think it's got a lovely nose on it, but I can't quite place it.
It's a little floral.
So I get more of like a.
Dank.
No,
I'm
no.
getting- I'm
It's
getting-
the opposite. This is the opposite. of
I'm getting a
dank.
bit of like burnt something.
I get like burnt caramel at the top.
Yeah.
Top
Yeah,
of the creme brulee.
I was gonna say burnt sugar, yeah.
Creme brulee is a great shout. Actually, that's
Got to be getting that burnt thing going on. Sweet. It's quite sweet as well, isn't it?
Do you not expect that from a red beer though?
I do.
Style wise, you expect reds to be a little bit sweeter? No?
Yeah. But I
No,
don't.
I was
I'm
looking.
not saying I always look like
You
it.
just pulled a face.
I guess it depends on the hopping, because you can have a red beer that's got loads of bittering hops in it, which would counteract any sweetness.
But
So where-
style wise,
For this kind of beer, where's the sweetness coming from then?
it's got to be from the malt.
Some
surely.
kind of malty goodness, some rye, I might guess, but I'm going to be wrong. No, just in the malt. So might like caramel, it's got a bit more sweetness to it, a bit more toffee. I'll get an email as soon as Andy hears this, and
Yeah.
actually you are entirely wrong, and we do this to it.
But it's very delicious.
It's very drinkable, and again,
So does all the beers he do that goes in the bottle, does he do them on cask as well?
I believe so. Yeah.
So there's always a cask iteration of this. In which case, I think I'd like to taste this on cask more than Plan B.
Cask version of this, I think, would be amazing.
I think this on cask,
Yeah.
served spot on, would be fantastic.
I think to be fair, the majority of Andy's brew beers that I've tried all feel as though they would lend themselves to cask more than any other version.
Yeah, and that's all. That again, going back to what you're saying about his MO, that's definitely his MO, isn't it? It's cask,
because he knows his local market.
Yeah.
He knows what he's aiming at.
and he does it very well though.
Yeah.
You know, and the Plan B, quite happy to have that in the bottle. I don't know if it would be much different on draft anyway, but this on cask, I think would be fantastic.
And hasn't he's just expanded a little bit again as well, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's just bought in some more FVs
He's
as well.
bought a new FV,
Yeah.
which I think is FV4, but he's going to downgrade FV3 to FV4 and upgrade the new one
Okay.
because it's shiny.
But it's great that he's at a point where just a year in, he's already expanding to the point where he's bringing in new equipment and he's trying to get more beer.
I
out
think
there
he's
as
doing so well, and he seems to have done it just because he makes really good beer and he's a nice guy, and I think that's
But it's also
the best possible way
Yeah.
to do anything.
I think it's the variety though. So you were talking about Mason and Co. the tap takeover. We mentioned Leighton Orient, but Mason and Co. especially. I think he had a number of beers on that night. So to be able to produce all those beers, had them all ready, and delivered, turn up for. Bearing in mind his small workspace, relatively
Yeah.
speaking, I mean that's pretty good on the logistics
Yeah.
as well.
I think the fact that it's just him
Yeah.
doing it, and I'd like to say that he nicely gifted this beer to us for us to enjoy. But like when he's doing deliveries, he hasn't got a bloke to come and do it. He chucks it in the back of a McGann and drives to
Yeah.
Reading and puts it in the cellar. It's,
No,
all,
I think
it's all him and hard earned and well deserved.
No, I'd go along with well deserved, definitely. And having met him a few times now as well, he is the nicest bloke in brewing.
It's
And
you're
he
not going to
hugs,
meet a nice man.
excellent hugs.
Yeah.
Which probably leads us quite nicely into why we're drinking beers from Berkshire.
It does, which is this week's main.
Oh, we've not finished the show yet.
Oh no, we're only just starting.
Sorry, listeners.
This
Again,
week's show, yes.
this is what happens when you only have a 15-minute show the week in between.
Absolutely, yeah. I think we probably need to stop dropping in substitute shows to the main show. To be fair, because people get used to a thing and then it stops.
Yeah.
Okay, so this week we asked.
Opinions, 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 opinions.
Do you overlook your local breweries? Which I thought was quite a simple poll.
Hold on. Just reading out the options.
If you
Yes, open brackets, why, question mark, close brackets. No, open brackets, who are they, question mark, close brackets. And then haven't got any nearby. So I thought that was fairly self-explanatory in terms of...
Okay, so the question was, do you overlook your local breweries? Yes.
Yes,
No.
no.
yes, no, or don't care.
Yeah,
Or don't have any.
pretty much.
The third option.
Yeah.
And what exactly got you so angry?
That lots of people seem to really misunderstand what the question was. I think, personally, Twitter is drinking too much murky beer and it's clouding their judgment of
That's
being able to read
He's-
the
Good
language.
analogy.
He's
Well
managed to
done.
use murky and cloudy all in the same
Yes.
sentence.
I-
Well done.
You've worked on that for a while.
I
haven't
have,
you?
Yeah.
yes, yeah, absolutely. So I thought it was quite a simple poll. So anyway, I'm gonna run down some of the responses, and then we can get into whether people overlook their local beers or not. Because I know we'll probably have, maybe Martin and I will have similar views to
Yeah,
this
it's
beer
quite
from the
possible.
same area, but obviously Ruth, with the range of beers you've bought this evening, a slightly different view. So so we had many comments for a lot of people said that they live in Yorkshire and everything's brilliant.
Lucky them.
Wish I lived in Yorkshire, to be fair, when you think about the breweries out there.
There was 3 big areas which came out on this poll.
Yorkshire, the North East, Sussex, Brighton, and Manchester.
Yeah.
So I think that's 4, actually.
And Bristol.
Bristol came up a couple of times, yeah. Not as many times as
Definitely
the
not
other
as
did,
many.
but-
It came up, but
but
not as many, did it?
It came up. So, and I think we know those as brewing hotspots around the country.
Yeah.
For me, the interesting thing was we didn't have a load of people come back with London this, London that, and I thought we'd get a lot of that, which we didn't get. We had one comment about South London, and that was about it.
That was about it, really.
Yeah, which I think, again, probably...
But is that one of those overlooking bits as well?
No, I think it's that we just have a much greater northern fan base that contribute to what we actually bother doing.
That's our northern lean.
Yes.
Our northern bent.
Absolutely. So going into a bit more detail, Mark Johnson, again, always makes a comment when he can. I don't overlook them, but I don't support them anymore either. Brackets the majority, which is quite an interesting comment, dependent on where Mark's based in the country. Mark's up in the northwest Manchester area. So
Huddersfield's one of his favourite spots, isn't it?
Yes,
He supports Huddersfield, doesn't he?
It is, yeah. Son of a Gun, who I haven't mentioned him for a while.
He hasn't been around a while, but he may not be his last mention.
He has come back. Ooh, slight spoiler there, maybe. Yes, I overlook them because they only have a core range and don't release anything new or exciting, which I think is we can probably all appreciate what he's saying there.
Really, no.
Local breweries
Don't release anything new or exciting.
that only have a core range and don't release anything new or exciting.
I can't believe they only have a core range.
Let's carry on reading.
Sorry.
Okay.
Because I think this will tie into our divide.
John Stanley at JW Stanley 1007. Yes, mixed reasons. Most local breweries only produce some mediocre versions of traditional styles, which we may lean towards that. Clay pot frog porridge. I'm still not sold on his new name.
No.
Still, thankfully, at Clayfish.
Yeah, can we just go back to Clayfish?
Yeah, so at Clayfish, you know my local breweries, so apart from Brewers Gold, all the Essex beer can get in the sea. Which we probably don't need to say any more on that this evening. Janice Dunn at Mrs. Beer Snob, absolutely not. My local brewery own a pub locally, and I love spending time in there and enjoying their beers, support local and all that jazz. Mark M at Drunk Res, yes and no, actually. I drink what I can find. If they're not on keg, I overlook them.
That interested me, that one.
Man after my own heart there.
What, the keg thing?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
basically, I quite happy to support local, as long as it's good
It's cold
and on
and-
keg.
Yes.
But most smaller breweries won't really have the kit to do keg beer, so they will be cask.
Yeah.
By
Because
nature.
they're serving a local
Just
market
by
as well.
nature and by finances as well.
Yeah. Beer Nouveau at Beer Nouveau. After much back and forth with Steve about what the poll actually meant, he finally understood it and then came back with, gotcha, no, I drink at my local brewery, after all it's mine.
Excellent.
Which is...
Well done. Full marks.
I'm glad he said that.
Thanks for that, Steve. Could you not just have said that at the beginning and saved me a
And
whole lot of
stopped you
growth?
being so angry.
And then the final one, and this will lead us into our discussion this evening, Simon Clark at Simon Carbon. But is hype from the Cloud Magic Beaver Dog beers, which somebody needs to name a beer that. I want to start home brewing just so I can call a beer Cloud Magic Beaver Dog.
We
I
can
think you might
start a
find
brewery with
that
that.
dog is trademarked.
Probably,
And they'll hunt you down and kill you.
Yeah, absolutely. But is
With
hype
their lone wolf.
from Cloud Magic Beaver Dog beers obscuring good stuff from local breweries?
Yes.
So, those are the views. Let's open it up to the room. Apparently,
So
Ruth's already in
Yeah,
there.
apparently. So,
Apparently,
Ruth,
so
over to you.
Yeah.
I think about this that got me slightly annoyed is, what percentage said no, we don't overlook them?
That's a good question.
That's a very good question.
Sorry,
because I
that
didn't.
was the winning poll number thingy
It was.
said
No,
we
no,
don't
no.
overlook them.
Yeah, don't overlook them. So
So
no was
why?
I don't overlook them.
On my Twitter and my Instagram, and if I search on Instagram for Cheers Guys, is 4 out of 5 pictures another can of Cloudwater with another Cloudwater glass next to it. If we're all so bloody excited about our local breweries and saying they're so wonderful, should we not talk about them some more, or drink them some more, or help them some more, and all of those things?
I can't answer that because I'm not excited about my local breweries.
You live in Essex.
Yes, exactly.
I've got Andy.
Yes, we haven't got an Andy.
What was the result?
So the result was 74%. 74% of people went for no, they don't overlook their local breweries, which is quite a massive percentage. That's what that's 3/4, isn't it?
But if
Almost.
you prefer,
what you're saying is that if
That
so many
versus
people
the social media norm,
love it,
or if you look at the local any bar lineup, that is not representative at all.
It is interesting because going to Simon's point there, and which is what you're saying in terms of a number of breweries, and I'm not necessarily going to name them, but that you know who they are. You can look through your Twitter feed and every fucker is drinking these beers from these breweries, and it's filling up your timeline, and the minute they release a new beer, everybody loses their shit and has to rush out and try and buy it and be the first person to get a picture on Twitter or Instagram and whatever. And I tend to agree actually, is that hype around these half a dozen or so big national breweries actually stopping people from saying, you know what, actually I'm just going to explore what's around me and I'm just going to see what's here and whether they produce any beer, good beer or not. Now, I'm very much with Martin on this. We live in Essex. I don't get very excited about Essex beer and what Essex Brewery is producing. I got quite excited at last week's bottle share when we had an IPA from
Brentwood.
Their
first
Elephant
School IPA number 1.
Yeah, that's their crafty thing.
This is their crafty thing, which was in a fantastic bottle, black bottle that looked like it had been handwritten with kind of a chalk board marker.
Totes crafty.
And then it had like wax stripped all over it as well. So it wasn't a wax seal, and it looked visually stunning.
Yes.
All of your fetishes come at once.
Properly crafted. The problem was that the candle they had used to drip all over it was a scented candle. So it had actually, by the time it got in the glass, it had completely ruined the aroma of the beer.
It was like when you like one of those fucking awful things. It was disgusting.
Lush. It's like you walk into a station anywhere in the country and all you can smell is Lush.
So you had a thing that smelled like Lush?
Yes. It smelled like Lush. The problem was there was a beer in there. There was actually, I think, a good beer in there.
But I think they'd ruined it by the presentation.
Yeah, and I think Justin had already gone back about that. So previous mega guest, on Beer O'Clock Show had already gone back about it, and this was one he dug out of the cellar. It was so overpowering.
But also, there were only 22 bottles of that available. They only made 22 bottles of it, of which he bought 6, and he bought 3 of them to. So he had like 1/3 of a quarter. Maths not my strong point.
Really?
Did you say a fourth?
I did just say a fourth.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is in their quest to be crafty, they've basically overwanked it and ruined the beer.
Yeah, they went too far.
Yeah. I think they know that. But again, going back to the Essex choice and going back to the last comment, which was the Cloud Magic Beaver Dog comment. For me in Essex, no. I'm quite happy when I can get hold of those in Essex. There are a few breweries I will look out for certain styles that they do. So, Crouchvale with their Brewer's Gold, I think it's an excellent beer. I think Billericay do some nice dark beers. Round Tower do some decent beers. My local brewery, Colchester Brewing, couldn't give a monkeys about them. Always want to like them, but I've stopped trying now. So no, I'm more than happy when I go into one of my local pubs and they've got these on offer.
See, now we're a little bit at odds with the Colchester thing because there's one beer in particular
that's disgusting
that you absolutely loathe, but I love it, which is is it the Brazilian? Which is a vanilla coffee.
No, it's just vanilla.
I thought it was a coffee.
Yeah,
stout.
That's what it says.
Okay.
It's just vanilla. It's just alcohol.
So I really
pots.
enjoy that beer.
But again, but that's just a different opinion about a beer. But that's not representative of your feeling about Essex beers.
It's not, and I really want to love Bishop Nick beers as well because of the whole heritage that goes into it as well.
And the guy
he's a descendant of the
original brewery tour there. It's lovely.
Yeah, but every time I have one of his beers, I'm just like, oh, God, you've just produced a beer, and it's going to go against everything we just said. You've just produced a beer for the market that surrounds your brewery.
Which is exactly what he's meant to do.
It is exactly what he's meant to do, but why? Which is exactly what Andy's doing.
But there's no way that Essex
But Andy lives in Commuterville.
So is Essex.
So is Essex.
So it's Essex. That's the thing.
With
It's
a
on
load
the,
of fields.
it's on the A12 corridor. It's near the M11. It's an hour less into London. There's no way there is just people who want cask and just the same cask.
I've never heard the phrase A12 corridor before.
There you go.
It's amazing.
How have you
coined
not heard that?
That's the thing.
It is a thing. You used to work in
I
the
know, I
region.
used to
How
live
have you
there.
not heard A12 corridor?
I think
Anyway,
you guys have made
I
it up
just-
so you haven't got a motorway.
I just don't know what it is about Essex. They just and this is we're moving away from what we're supposed to be talking about, which is kind of the Berkshire beers that you've bought us this evening.
Thanks, mate.
And we're getting a bit frustrated about where we live, but,
Yeah, but-
why won't the Essex brewers embrace craft? It's not even craft. Why won't they embrace
No, it's
something
not
a
just
bit?
about craft. Just about something a bit different.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be craft.
just innovate a little bit. Try something different.
Round Tower brought out Session Pale Ale, which they had at the Lion Inn, which is an event space country pub, and that was really, really good. One of his best ones he's done, apart from a couple of dark beers.
Yeah.
Really nice. Even something like that doesn't exist on that many Essex breweries. So for me, I was straight away. Do you overlook your local breweries? Yes.
I'm probably a yes as well on this. You not so much.
But
because-
Ruth had a hand up.
Obviously, look at what
I'm-
you've bought us this evening.
I'm a no, but before that, I would like to play my Suffolk girl card.
Okay. You got Adnams then.
That I have Adnams, who I grew up drinking and worked for, but also you have Woodfords, who I think are great, and Redwell, who.
They're Norfolk.
Yeah, but they're not local to Essex.
But for me in Suffolk, they were local.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I thought one of them was Norfolk.
They're both
Still
Norfolk.
local.
Woodford's is Norfolk.
Woodfords is Norfolk. Yeah.
Oh no, now we get this. You can't be a Suffolk girl and not Norfolk.
So you had Adnams, St
Cam-
Peters, and Green King.
You drank Ruddles and liked it.
Ruddles is produced by.
Green King. Thank you. So Canberra define local is a 30-mile radius to be in their
What locale?
locale thing. So we're afraid they all count. Steve's pulling a really interesting face and looks like he's going to punch someone. Do you want to elaborate?
It's because someone commented on that exact number.
I know.
On this poll of it being a
And
30-mile
it's fun
radius,
to watch you.
and was trying to claim that as a result of that, the Colonel were their local brewery, and I was like, "Fuck off." That's like me trying to claim that Ipswich is my nearest town because it's within a 30-mile radius.
But what I would say is about living somewhere more rural is I think you can kind of expand it. So if you look at London, then if you live in North London, you view Hamilton as your local brewery.
It's a valid point because Ipswich and Norwich view it as a local derby. There's 45 miles in between.
That's the thing. But there's more people in a smaller space, so you would have little local villages.
But
Whereas
I would agree,
if
south of
you're
the
in
river's
middle of
tenuous.
nowhere,
Yeah, the minute you cross that river, it adds miles. In my opinion, it's not as the crow flies, is it? Let's be honest. But
But the point still
anyway,
remains.
Berkshire rocks.
Yeah, so you've got
absolutely.
You've
I
got-
mean, we're 3 in. We've
Well-
got 2 more to go.
and I was like to say,
Why did you not bring any siren?
because I thought it was a bit obvious.
No, we're fine with obvious.
Tough.
And because we're going to be featuring Siren in a few weeks' time anyway.
Oh,
But actually, the two breweries in Berkshire everyone knows about, you've got Siren and Windsor and Eton,
yes.
which everyone knows about, you can kind of get hold of all the time. And if we're talking about not overlooking our local breweries, I thought showcasing people who might not necessarily get as much airtime would be a good thing.
Yes. Windsor and Eton are one of the founder members of the London Brewers Alliance, aren't
But
they?
they're not within the M25, so they shouldn't count.
But they are part
But
of
they
the
are.
London Brewers Alliance.
It's a professional bugbear for me rather than a personal.
Oh, okay. No, I quite like their beers. Never been over there.
I enjoy a couple of their beers. I also really like their craft arm, Uprising, as well. I'm sorry, I do. You can get their cans in spoons now. They did a beer a couple of years ago at Christmas called Scumbag Maggot, which was one of the greatest imperial stouts I've ever had at Christmas, purely because of the name of the beer.
Not because of the flavour or the taste or the aroma.
No, because it summed up everything about Christmas.
Well, it's a bit like the cheap wine you used to be able to buy when you went to France called the Dog's Bollocks. It was shit wine.
But it's a great name.
It was a great name.
See, the point I'm about to make is going to end up in a different podcast. You're going to tell me to shut up. But you're happy with the Windsor and Eton craft arm, but you're not happy with the Marston's craft arm.
Because there's a difference.
No,
Because
there's not.
there is.
There's so
There is
not.
because the Windsor and Eton craft arm do good beers. The Marston craft arm don't.
Have you tried them all?
Not all of them.
Well,
no.
then you can't comment.
No, but I've tried enough to be able to
Which
make
ones?
an informed decision. I can't go through.
Okay,
it
there we go.
right now. It's are these the new ones, like the beardy hipster ones. Those ones. Are those the ones that you're particularly referring to?
I just think it's interesting.
Because I've
that
particularly
you're-
not bought those because of the branding that they've gone for.
I just find it interesting that you are happy with a smaller brewery having a craft arm, but a bigger brewery doing it is not okay.
Because a lot of the bigger
No.
regional breweries do it shit.
And no, I've never said that because we could very, very easily go back to, well, why did Adnams try and do a craft arm? Actually, they're one of the best breweries
Do
in
it
the
really
UK
well.
in terms of doing a craft arm.
Yeah.
And realised very early on that they shouldn't have tried to rebrand it as a craft arm, so they stopped that shit and they brought it back in-house as Adnams.
I just think a lot of bigger breweries actually do a craftier thing really well that gets overlooked.
Like
But
who?
it's I think Marston's actually a really good example.
I can't think of anyone other than Adams who's a good big regional brewery who does it well.
Thwaites, Crafty Jan, 13 Guns.
Yes, give it
Good.
that.
There we go.
But not pedigree.
Marston's owned
Not
though.
the Marston's ones.
But they're Marston's owned.
What?
Thwaites.
Thwaites?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're still Thwaites. That's a different question, isn't it? You're
Should we
talking
move
about ownership.
on?
We probably should.
Okay,
yes.
sorry.
So, final thoughts on the Level Up then?
Oh,
Elusive Brew.
I went for a second.
You went. I think you went for more than a second. To be fair,
I filled up my glass
I
again.
didn't get any more poured into my glass, did I?
Oh, you too busy talking.
Sorry. I also had a second.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, we
was,
did.
The second.
yeah, great, thanks.
I
Okay,
think
so,
that says
so
everything we need to know.
exactly. I mean, yeah, great stuff. And I love it that it's one of these brews that Andy does that he changes it every time,
Yeah.
dependent on the ingredients that are available. So obviously that keeps changing. So
And no, he won't change that MO anyway, will he?
no, absolutely not, because he's still a small brewery. So
Yeah.
he's so what's up next, Ruth? What other delights have you got for us from Berkshire?
So next up we have, well, I guess like the Berkshire New Boys. So we have a beer from Wild Weather, who brew in Silchester, and this is a collaboration with Weirdbeard, and it's all of your favourite things.
Oh, what's in here?
In here it's called Quantum State, and it's a kaffir lime saison. And Steve dies a little bit inside.
Steve, you can have seconds of this.
It's 7.7%. So I've never had anything from Wild Weather. I've heard really good things. So
Oh, I had some Wild Weather last year because
I am excited.
at the Bracknell Beer Festival I already mentioned. I was pouring that for you. There you
Okay.
go. Andy recommended it. He said go for some Wild Weather, and he was spot on with that.
And I think they've done a collab.
They
I might
have a
made
few
that up, but I think
beers. They have done collab. They did the Herman Toothrot, which was the
Oh, was it one of theirs? One of
yes.
theirs? Oh, yeah, we've had that, didn't we? You liked that?
I loved it.
You
so
bought
much
some
so
extra.
I bought a second one to tuck away for a year
Yeah.
to see how it developed. It was a American rum and raisin
That sounds fun.
strong beer.
Yeah.
But they've brewed with Mason Hoops, so this is a
Yeah.
Weird Beer collab. They've brewed with Andy, they've brewed with Yeasty Boys.
We get a lot of these beers in the alehouse in
Yeah.
Chelmsford. Wild Weather always on in there.
This is our first can of the evening.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
Which is interesting in itself.
And
Yeah.
they have
Yeah.
their own canning line, so this isn't a mobile jobby.
That'd be a
Smells
bit-
of farmhouse.
I don't think it's too much farmhouse, or it's offset by the
Oh,
lime.
your face.
That's the gin. It's the gin face.
It is the gin face. It's a gin sour saison face.
Any words, Steve?
No.
What about it don't you like?
Everything.
It's a bit general. It's an ambitious mix. It does have to be said.
See, aroma-wise,
No,
it's
I
got,
like
it's
the
got,
aroma.
It's got Belgian-y aroma.
Do you think so?
A little bit.
I think it's got less Belgian Iranian than Plan B.
And it's less Belgian-y.
Yeah, but it's gone bigger beer.
But it's got a bit more. It's got the lime.
The lime you get.
Flavour-wise, I wanted it to be a bit sharper and a bit tartar and a bit more.
Do you think it's almost tried to do too much?
It makes me feel a bit sad.
I have to say, in terms of,
It's almost got like a washing up liquid. No, I drink washing up liquid very often, only when I run out of beer at home. But it's got that kind of. There's something in there because you can get lime bleach and lime washing up stuff, can't you? That's what it's starting to remind me of.
I think my current washing up liquid is apple blossom and lime.
Is it? There you
It
go.
almost sounds like it
Massive
should be
pots.
in a can being poured into my glass.
You've got craft washing
That
up
could be your new
craft.
thing. You can make
Craft
canned
washing up liquid.
Yeah. I think for me, style-wise, it's a saison.
Yeah. Sorry.
7.7%.
Isn't
That's not
it's not a traditional saison, is it?
what
Straight.
saisons were designed to do.
No, the saison was just seasonal beers, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it's brewed with real kaffir lime leaves.
I think you get the lime.
Okay, I'm a little bit
It's
ignorant here. Is a kaffir lime different from a normal
I
lime?
think it's slightly more aromatic.
Okay.
Posh.
Waitrose lime.
As opposed to my Audi lime.
Middle class lime.
that I get.
If Marks and Spencer only made one lime, they would make kaffir lime. It's just a bit cloying for me.
I think it would be. I think we've had it out of the fridge now for how long
Yeah,
have we
no,
been
that's a
recording?
fair point.
An hour and a half. It's
10 hours.
10 hours. If it'd been colder, in a hotter environment, I think it would have worked better.
I think it's actually the right temperature and it's not very warm in here. It's
I don't know. I don't ever see a
I just
point
think,
in
I
time
think,
where I'd enjoy that.
I think it's actually trying to do too much. I think there's actually too many things being thrown in.
I think it was just a bit more acidic and had a bit more of that refreshing.
I think it's got too much body. That might sound a bit of a weird thing usually to say.
I actually agree with you on that, and again, I think that comes back to the styling. With a saison, you don't want a saison to have a lot of body. You want it to be refreshing and crisp and to do the
Gulpable.
job that it's designed
Swiggy.
to do. A
it's not
saison
swiggy.
isn't designed to have lots of body and to be a sipper.
This has got a massive mouthfeel to it.
Yeah.
It's got a nice can. If that helps.
Not sure if
anyone.
it has.
It's got.
It fits in well
got,
in this room though.
It's got the weird beard skull.
Yeah.
It's got the. I think it's an interesting beer. I just think it's actually too big for what it's trying to be.
It's certainly not a beer that's for me.
How come they've gone? Because Wild Weather, we were saying, are quite new, aren't they as well?
It didn't say on the website, and I really should have asked them. I think
They've not been around that long.
2 or 3 years,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
that.
And they've got their own canning line.
They've got their own canning line. They're in
Because that's not cheap, is it?
No.
a nice little unit in Silchester, as I discovered when I
Where
went.
are they?
Silchester. So it's kind of south of Reading, going towards Newbury, but in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
I tried to see them. They were closed on a Friday.
Which
Ah.
threw me because I had Wild Weather at being in Devon. Don't know why. I just imagined that.
Because you
imagined
think
they were
that
from Devon.
Verdon and everyone else is.
No, it's nothing to do with that. I just
All
for
the
some
same
reason I
place.
just imagined that they were. I didn't put them as being in Berkshire. I don't know why.
Berkshire is rock and roll.
It would appear so.
And this as well.
But I have had Wild Weather beers and I have enjoyed them.
I've had Wild Weather.
And I
beers, I've
enjoy
enjoyed
weird
them.
beers.
They do a very good cask beer.
Yes.
As well.
And I would like to say that I got this at Uto Beer this morning, and it was literally the only Wild Weather beer they had. So it wasn't. We didn't perhaps get the choice that we would have maybe liked.
I just think there's actually too much
Stop
going on.
Pulling your face.
I mean, it's got too much going
Beer,
on.
like a good boy.
Too much going on, too much body. It needed to be less of everything. It'd be a much more subtle, drinkable beer.
Do you want to finish it?
I will finish it.
Okay.
But
He's a professional, Ruth. He will finish his beer.
I said stop bucket, and you said no.
What? Yeah, because we don't even know what that thing is.
No, we've got no idea. We've got no reference point for that.
Do you want to mix it with something else?
No, I want to finish this beer.
Yeah, she said she had no gin. Here we go.
I had no
Yeah.
gin, I promise.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. There are no Berkshire distilleries. I looked
So-
and looked and looked.
While we finish this, let's have a look at what letters we've had over the past couple of weeks.
Let us know, write it down. Let us know, write it down. Let us know your thoughts and bitter and lingerness. Write it down.
So first up, from Sean Paul, Now, I'm not sure if this is
Is
from...
that the real Sean
No,
Paul?
I don't think it's from, like, is he a rapper or an R&B artist? But I don't think it's from
He's
that
probably,
sort.
he's probably not a listener to Opinions, that one.
Yeah.
Really cool if he was.
So Sean shared with us his views on a few beers. So at Verdant Brew, Putty, up there with one more PSI at Daya Brewery, Steady Rolling Man, and at Cloudwater version 13 as my top beers of 2017. That's quite a bold statement so early on in the year.
That's very bold.
I mean, I know we've been doing our beers of the month on Facebook exclusive. So if people want to see what we've been drinking and what we've been enjoying every month, they need to head over to our Facebook page and like it and all that jazz, and to see what we're doing over there. But that's very bold to be putting out your beers of the year so early on in the year, don't you think?
Although I think I shouted out my beer of the year last year when Cloudwater did the Freeze Company.
And a beer you haven't stopped going on about since.
Yeah.
Which
It was a brilliant beer.
Fair enough. And then the other one was from Paul at Ewan RCD, #Hopinions topic. With the supermarkets really entering into craft beer, what do people want from their bottle shops now? Which I thought was a great question.
Yeah, and I think we'll have to revisit that one. I think there's probably too much to discuss in one hit.
Ruth seems to have an opinion on it.
Oh shit. I think that with supermarkets offering more, then bottle shops also have to offer more, and it's almost becoming a bottle shop bar pub hybrid, which I really like. It's a good concept, good place.
But there's no point in them trying to offer the same beers, is there, as a supermarket?
No, but you've got more and more bottle shops offering. Thank you.
Offer as well. Is that meat offer?
I'm so glad you pulled her up on something
I did it myself.
because it's all she did at the beginning of tonight's show was to pull me up on my
So what
I
believe
got me up as well.
half butcher and half bottle shop for an offerling.
Sounds like Clayton's ideal spot.
So places that
all of
but
our
you can
ideals.
get a growler refill and you can get draft bit, and actually you can sit in there and have a pint while you think about what you're going to
I
have.
said I think we need to come back to it, because but I do agree with you. I think they need to offer something different and something which the supermarkets don't offer.
which is a good point, because we are seeing more supermarkets enter into the craft.
And that won't
game
change.
now. I mean, we've got obviously the one that we spoke about a few weeks back was Tesco, really up in their game.
Yeah.
Since then, we've seen Waitrose
They
add
expanded
additional
their own
lines
range,
as well, and Marks and Spencer again
Continue.
are just, and it's getting to the point where you can't go into a supermarket now without seeing a craft range of beer, which I still don't think is a bad thing.
I think it's a brilliant thing.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
If the whole point is to get good beer to more people, then surely a supermarket's the best
And
possible way of doing it.
Possibly frees up shelf space for the next wave coming in bottle shops who can't scale up to do supermarkets.
Yeah, but it's interesting because that, in particular, in the last couple of weeks, what we've seen is quite a lot of bottle shops getting quite vocal and angry about, particularly Waitrose entering into the market and maybe stealing some of the goodwill or reputation that these bottle shops have been building up with breweries. And
that was one particular beer, though, wasn't it? That was the wild beer Nincanti that sparked that off.
Yeah, that Waitrose are selling it like £2 less than most
That's,
independent
I can understand that a little bit. You know, if someone's been building up the brand and really worked hard with them to do that, then I can understand it a little bit. But when it's the like Punk IPA, which you can buy the bombers in Asda for like £2.50 or something, and that's, you know, sort of gone. That's happening for a long time now.
Personally, I like a great selection in a supermarket. I like to be able to walk
great.
into my local supermarket and buy. I'd love to be able to buy more beers because, again, we've said many times, I live in a wasteland where I don't have an independent bottle shop. I'd love an independent bottle shop in my town, but I haven't got one.
No.
Obviously, it's similar to, in an ideal world where we're all squillionaires and have loads of time, then you all go to the butcher and the baker and the bottle shop and everything else. But real life isn't necessarily like that, so going to go to the supermarket and do everything in one go at a sensible price is a really good thing.
Yeah, I think it's the same for anything. And those I mean, we went through a phase where independent off licenses completely disappeared, and you ended up with just one or two chains left. Independent bottle shops have found a way to create a market. That market's still there, so there is still opportunities for them, but I wouldn't say you should just stop buying stuff in supermarkets. That's just ridiculous. Because sometimes that is the only place you can go to.
And the people behind that brewery have worked really hard to make themselves successful, and the measure of their success is getting big distribution, and so they should therefore be applauded for that and celebrated rather than people saying, "Oh no, I don't want to."
I think there's room for both.
And I think you're right, and I think like you said at the outset, maybe one that we'll come back to again for a third time.
Yeah.
Because I think we've probably covered this a number of times.
Yeah, covered it a number of times.
It's one that keeps coming up time and time again.
And it's warranted, to be fair.
Yeah.
So I've got no problem with it, and it's a good question. It's a good question from Paul.
Yeah. But both Sean and Paul, thanks,
Sean Paul.
Thanks both for your contributions this week to our Bitter and Lingonist letters section. If anybody does want to ask us a question, not about anything, but just send in comments or views or anything. Just simply use the hashtag opinions, and we'll pick it up and we'll feature it on next week's show. Final thoughts on the Wild Weather Weird Beard collab Quantum State Cafe Lime Saison. That's okay. That's our alarm going off that tells us we've gone over our longest show ever. Mark, we're going to try and wrap this up very shortly. But final thoughts on the Quantum State.
Don't need to revisit it.
I would like to try more things from Wild Weather before judging, but that beer.
I wouldn't judge a brewery on one beer.
No, but I wouldn't need to revisit this beer.
But I would want that lighter and crisper and more
sourer.
refreshing. Then no, because I don't.
I would have it sharper.
Because
you've got the lime. You
Yeah.
definitely have it a bit
You want
sharper.
that.
I'd have it under 5% as well.
Yeah, easily. 7.7% for a saison is just ridiculous. I'm
So
sorry, but it is.
What have we got up next then, Ruth?
So
Come on,
next-
last offering.
To bring this show to a finish
really
finally.
hope
Is it going to finish? It's never going to finish, is it?
This is the
I
never-ending
really hope I
podcast.
can bring it back around. So the last beer we have is from Binghams Brewery, and it is their Vanilla Stout, and this is the champion beer of Britain, which neither of you knew, you heathens.
Neither of us knew that.
No, we were rubbish on that when we discussed it earlier.
So I want to point out, so it is the cask version, is champion beer of Britain, but same brewery, same beer. The only difference is in this one the vanilla pods go in the FV, and in the cask version they go in the cask.
Okay.
So Binghams are based in Twyford, so I think they are, for me, my most local brewery. They're going since 2010. This beer was first brewed in 2011, and last year it was crowned champion beer.
That's not bad going though, isn't it? They've
Not
only
bad
been
going.
around since 2010.
So it started
They
by...
got champion beer of Britain within 5 years of
amazing.
being in production.
So it started by Chris Bingham. I was really lucky that I met John, who's the head brewer, when I went and picked up some bottles and got to look around. A small operation, like 10-barrel plant, but cute and clean and everything you could possibly want. And nice people.
Interesting in relation to all the other beers that we've drunk this evening.
500.
500
This is
Bottle.
a massively traditional
Very
bottle.
traditional branding, a very traditional feel to the beer as well. Thank you. Looks incredible in the glass. To be fair, nice frothy head on that. I like that. It's light in its flavour. You know it's a stout because it's hinting at that without obviously just looking at it and seeing that it's a stout. But you know it's there. It's got there's some roasted notes in there. It's a little bit dry, and then there's just this subtle sweetness for me that just lifts it a little bit, which I'm guessing is clearly coming from the vanilla.
So they use Madagascan vanilla pods whole. I think for me it's great. It's only 5%, which, if we are sitting in craft wankery world, is actually like baby beer for a stout.
It's a session stout.
But it's got loads. It's got so much flavour. It doesn't need the extra alcohol.
Fuck! When is someone going to release a session stout?
I will relabel
That's when you know
Why
we've
is it the
completely
title? Session Stout.
when you've completely jumped the shark when we get a session stout. Surely.
I really like this.
I love the dryness at the end.
I'm enjoying it. I think in terms of the beers that we've drunk this evening, it's certainly the perfect end
Oh yeah, yeah.
to
no,
the
good,
range of beers.
good choice for that.
We've
If
drunk.
only there were some brownies to go with it.
Anyway, we're almost there, folks. Not long left. Those regular listeners will know we've got maybe 5 minutes away from being able to end this week's podcast.
Part 4.
Part 4,
So
yeah.
sorry.
Prizeless Prize.
Prizeless Prize.
Who's got the great big box of nothingness?
It was actually quite good fun the last couple of weeks because there were some really good different pictures rather than just a glass beside a bottle or a can.
For Cloudwater.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
Cloudwater did get mentioned. Michelle did a very good one of a new Dipper Citra and the IPA Equinox. Did a bit of a half and half
Was
picture.
that the 2 glasses of orange juice next to each other?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a good one. Clayton was in the running with his All About Broadside. He had the Spirit of Broadside, and the both barrels.
But he didn't have a bottle of not broadside, did he?
No, but he needed a cask.
No.
Then he had the full lineup.
It was he didn't have the glass in the right place. Glass, bottle, glass.
But if he'd had a pint
All wrong
of
in the
cask
picture.
broadside, he'd have got the full lineup.
I did like the picture. I did like the black
Yeah.
and white image on that picture.
I quite like Gregor's picture, which was his recycling bin.
Full marks that man, I think, for that.
I like that because I actually walked
That's
down
good,
the
yeah.
hill when the recycling's out, nosing at people's selection and then judging them as I walk down the
I
road.
love it that you judge people on what's in their recycling.
You've got 12 bottles of Bud in there. Ugh.
Do
Even
people ask you if you've had a party when you go to recycling?
no, because I don't.
Do
Because
it
I'm not always
daily.
there the night before. You do it daily.
I have to take my bottles to a bottle bank. They don't get collected.
Oh,
so.
you've had a nice night, haven't
Yeah,
you?
chink,
Sir.
chink.
And there was a really good one at Northern Monk Refectory as well. And this was the earlier spoiler. Son of a Gun.
Oh, he's back.
He's back.
He is back.
He's got a picture of 3 McGargles bottles, Little Banging IPA, Big Banging IPA, and Double Banging IPA, which Steve and I will confess to being big fans of all 3 of those.
Yeah.
And that was the winner. So that will be featured. Online.
Incredible! I'm actually so glad that the big box of nothing is going back to Ireland because it's been a long time
been a
since
while.
Son of a Gun has won it. I know he had a bit of a hiatus from being on social media, and it's great that he's come back.
He's back.
With that image as well, with beers that we've drunk.
Yeah.
So we've both sampled those and we've enjoyed those beers as well. And obviously, if you want a chance of trying to bring that box back from Ireland to the UK, put your picture on Instagram, use the hashtag Cheers Guys, and if it's the one that attracts Martin's eye next week without me trying to influence him too much,
Which doesn't work anyway.
doesn't work at all, then you'll get the big box of nothing. I think we're almost there, mate.
We are.
This has been
It's been a session.
episode. We are just finishing off our Binghams. Final thoughts on this beer?
I think it's really well balanced. I was a little bit nervous because of my previous comments about a vanilla beer. I think it's in really good balance, this beer.
I think it's great. I think that the vanilla adds the smoothness and kind of boosts the flavours you already expect to be there. And yeah, I'm very proud to have them as my closest brewery.
I would be. I would echo what you said. It's literally like a vanilla flavoured stout, which is what you want when somebody has said that we've put vanilla in the stout. It's for me the balance is perfect.
Yeah, no, it works really well. And I quite like the fact it's just traditional bottle, traditional label.
And they're not swanky and they're not trying
No,
to make
they're not trying to be
they
something they're
are
not.
just
Yeah.
nice men in a room making really good beer.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ruth, thank you for coming back on Opinions again.
I'm just
And-
so aware I'm never coming back again.
Bringing many beers from Berkshire
Many
Thank
beers
you.
from
for
Berkshire.
us to try. It's kind of been a reintroduction of the county showcase thing, but in a bit more detail, sitting down, trying beers, drinking them,
Which, if anyone else wants to recommend their county
and invite us up to drink,
to
all the
drink
beer.
their beers, we'll
Yeah,
do it.
yeah, we're more than happy.
It's
to
not
do
a
it.
problem.
It has been great to have you back on the show. Where can
Thank
people
you.
find you?
They can find me at Beer Fairy with the wanky spelling. Which anyways,
That doesn't help people find you on
Yeah,
Twitter.
they'll put it in the show notes. Or you can try.
She's good. She's got that thing
Thanks.
right now.
You have
It's-
trained me so
yeah,
well.
put it in the show
I
notes.
wish she said they, she
Yeah.
was you.
Yeah.
Or I work for West Berkshire Brewery and Renegade, both of who are available on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all of your social networking sites.
Okay, and let's do the whole disclosure thing. all of these beers have been given to us this evening, haven't they, from the various breweries?
No.
No.
So
Well, they've been given to us.
they've been given.
Yeah,
To be fair, they've been given to us.
They've been given.
Thank you, Ruth, for giving us these beers
Anytime.
this evening.
So thank you to Andy Parker, the loveliest, nicest, most cuddly man in brewing. They were donated, and obviously the Renegade beer donated by me. Others I paid for, so that
Thank you
means
very much.
Thank you
pints
very
are
much.
on you.
Absolutely. If you want to get involved in this week's show, talk to us about the beers that you're drinking locally. Just put it up on Twitter, use the hashtag opinions, and we will pick it up. What is coming up next week, for fuck's sake, Martin? Let's finish this fucking thing.
We've got some beers from St. Allstalls next week, Steve.
We have. We're doing...
They're doing a bit of their crafty range, aren't we?
Is they crafty or limited range?
Limited crafty.
Small batch.
Small batch, that's
Small
the
batch,
one.
I think.
I can't remember which ones are because I almost lost them.
Yeah, so we're going to feature...
Babatu? Is it
Bab- yeah, we'll put a link
Eureka.
in the show notes probably.
Eureka.
And their Corif, which
Yeah,
is their,
there you go, their lager.
So
We
we'll
got
be
there.
featuring those on next week's show. God knows what we'll be talking about next week.
Nothing now.
Could be anything. We might do a poll and then something will come up an hour before we record. Who knows? But yeah, that's what's coming up next week. Until then, cheers.
Cheers.